Hello, this is me, Alfabusa video maker on YouTube. I am here to produce this video in an entirely original format. It is about showing off models that I definitely painted myself.
I would like to read from a prepared statement. Dear Alfabusa Productions, this recording is being served to you upon your illicit attempts to supersede and erode the trademark designation of Man on the Internet Who Does Warhammer, the only one, that is currently held by Wib Does Stuff Incorporated. If you do not cease the aforementioned activity, a lawsuit will be commenced against you. Cross me and be destroyed in the righteous fire of copyright law, for I am the Warhammer Man, the only one!
Hello, this is me, Alfabusa Credit Giver on YouTube. I am here to produce this video as a poorly reproduced simulacrum of Wib's painting logs, which I would recommend watching because they are good! I am going to be showing off the models that I have put together over the last, year or so. I did not paint them because I am bad! Thus, I am throwing the entire budget of TTS at
the trundling child.
Who paints my models very good. I like them. Alright. We begin with the most obvious pick I could have ever made. This is the Captain General model that I neglected to use the head for and simply replaced with a regular Custodes helmet that I forced
Trundling
to paint in the style of Kitten in his Captain General armor. From episode 27 and onwards. What especially inspired me to go with this particular armor design in the series itself was actually the feathers, because having them just straight up be Magnus's feathers was such a neat design element that it could not be resisted. He also has a few personal bodyguards or something. Two of them have helmets I found in an old box. They happen to be Britannia helmets from 2004, and for being so ancient and moldered, I found them to be to fit quite nicely. In line with the TTS theme I have now established, I also got these emissaries Imperatus Custodes. I think I remember I had them posed a bit differently, deviating from the standard recommended poses. As a result, it looks like a lot of them are just waving around their arms, talking, which I think fits this particular shield host. Also, a few Shadow Keepers, of course. If you don't know, the Emissaries Imperatus and the Shadow Keepers were both introduced in the 8th edition Adeptus Custodes Codex. When that codex hit, it was just an utter shock to the system, because for the longest time, the only real lore available for the Custodes in 40k specifically had been old lore from the Rogue Trader days. And that was truly good lore! But alas, they decided to do away with it, that lore, and just give them their armor again.
Disappointing.
Yes, this is when they also established that different shield hosts exist within the Adeptus Custodes, and with that justified different colored Custodes within the lore, which is good because, well, just look at these. These are Solar Watch Custodes with their nice bone-colored armor. This squad also has the Sagittarum bolters and helmets from Forge World, which look incredibly neat and good and are based off of this design from the classic Horus Heresy artwork, I'm pretty sure. I also have a whole slew of Sisters of Silence, both a Witch Seeker squad running around with flamers, and 2 Prosecutor squads with the Forge World Cadre upgrade to give them 2 bolt pistols instead of a singular bolt gun, which the Prosecutors usually have. It looks pretty neat, but when I sent them to Garrot, he told me that I was a disgusting failure who had mixed up the arms on some of the models they're giving a few of them left hands on their right arms. And one of them... abominable. He went and altered them, however, so that was good. I had to pay extra. Next up, 2 dreadnoughts. Now, I tried to fit both of these on screen, but my small light room box were very, very, very small, so they keep bumping into the walls of the light box, and I can't really film them anywhere else because the lighting in my house is not super great, and we'll just have to live with it. First, though, we have a regular Contemptor Dreadnought, of course, and then we have a Contemptor Aculus Dreadnought, which looks hella and very good. I love him. They are both in alternative color schemes, however, and you may be mildly opinionated to see that they look quite gross and weathered, slightly rusty, which was entirely intended, actually, but I'll talk more about that another time, I think. Now, to round up the Custodes part of this video, we have this model. This is, of course, the Constantin Valdor model from Forge World, but with a helmet from the Virtus Praetor kit, the Dawn Eagle jet bikes, which we found fit nicely. Garrot actually convinced me to buy this one just so he could paint it, and I cannot say I regret it, because he looks a lot cooler than I thought, honestly. I just remember a lot of people complaining about the sculpt when it was first released, and it did look pretty wacky on the site itself, I think. But now, when I have it in real life, I think it just looks great. Nothing to complain about. Next, however, we have something utterly different. Ratling! These vermin are freedom fighters under the mighty Bimbab Bulbafist, powerful legendary Ratling, revolutionary paramilitary leader of the Ratling Rebellion in the depths of a forgotten underhive, the final bastion warring against the very eradication of their people. Anyway, these are an older sculpt from 2nd edition with a single one that is from 3rd edition. The 3rd edition ones are slightly bigger than their 2nd edition counterpart, but I think this will fit like fairly well with the very good lore for this army. The older sculpts are clearly Juves, younger soldiers having not quite eaten to their full potential. I do have some more 3rd edition Ratlings going on, and I do have the Blackstorm Fortress box with the 2 like special character Ratlings, which I will probably convert into something completely different. I need more Ratlings. Next up, I am going to show some parts of what is probably my biggest force, the newest addition to my Genestealer multi-cult. This, first off, is a slapdash conversion I made out of an Ogroid Myrmidon, together with some random Tyrannid bits and like a single Noblar arm. I wasn't really that happy with the conversion, honestly, because I couldn't come up with anything that fun to make of it, so I just slapped on the first things I could find in like a small like bits pouch I have lying around, and then called it done and sent it to Garrot, and then he painted it. When it was actually painted, though, it looked significantly better, honestly. Next, we have these absolute abominations. I took some rippers and gave them Noblar heads. Lore-wise, they are pathetic metamorphs. Anyone who sees them cannot stand the thought of letting them live another moment. I also have to show off this one because I really like it. So this Genestealer multicult is one I play with in Necromunda primarily right now. I would like to play with them in Kill Team, maybe even proper tabletop when 9th hits, but I don't know. In the campaign I am playing, though, I managed to accrue enough credits to buy a slopper, which is basically an underhive cook. They're meant to be able to help your models get out of recovery faster if they're knocked out cold during a game. So this is my slopper. His name is Slugway. Eat flesh. He heals the ailing with his meat-thronged sandwiches. I appreciate that Garrot decided to make his bar even more appetizing by adding some nice blowflies and a liver to the mix. Quality food. I also bought some familiars in the game because familiars are extremely good and make it so your Gene Cult champions can actually have a chance of surviving a single round of getting hit. So yes, this is Glut the Punished, an overindulgent Ratling Gene Cultist who stole meat from Slugway. As punishment, his arms were cut off and his teeth were ground down, utterly shamed and set to become but a psychic meat shield for the worst champion in the gang. Then we have Grandfather's Imp, a small bray creature familiar that is said to be directly linked to the patriarch of the Gene Cult itself. We also have Jiri Bug Eyes, an infected canid with a big appetite and giant eyes. She isn't much of a fighter, she can barely bark and she begs for food all the time. And that is it. She is based on my real dog. Finally we have Big Fist! His fist is big! I also want to add this, my rogue doc. I have not come up with a name for him. If you have any suggestions, put them in the comments. I put together this one out of a Biophagus kit and a Vespid Stingwing, of course. This one I put together before I had even bought a rogue doc in the campaign, but upon the day I received the painted model from Garrot, I got a rogue doc for free as I won the rogue doc shop territory in the campaign. Now finally for the Gene Cult, I have these old school Gene Cultists. What I think are a Magos, an Acolyte, a Navigator, and I think a Rogue Trader. I really like these models though, and I figured they'd fit in my already very ununiformal cult. Also, Garrot painted one of them like Megamind. Oh, horrid bastard. Oh, now, to round off this video and get to my favorite bit, and the part of the video that I really wanted to make, I have a few very, very special models. Some backstory first though, because this will need some context. In 2019, when World of Warcraft Classic was released, me and a couple of friends, many of them involved in making TTS, decided to play. We played on an RP server called Zandalar Tribe, and we decided to get in on the whole role-playing scene. It is very normal for RPers on these kinds of servers to inhabit the role of a grizzled war veteran, or a young hero looking for adventure, a wise spiritualist, the best super powerful warrior and the captain general of Sylvanas' army. We instead decided that we wanted to be the worst. The Cult of Anders, as we called ourselves, were a band of miserable creatures, all bound together by the cursed whims of some vague, malignant entity by the name of Anders of Andersburg, who may or may not have actually existed at all. We had so much fun playing these very, very good characters, establishing all this very, very good lore, that I wanted to immortalize our characters as Warhammer models. And so with that, prepare for Cult of Anders deep lore dive in 3, 2, 1. Alright, I'll begin with my own character. Taharo's old whore, dismal fisherman and miserable swamp creature. If you've followed me on Twitter for some time, you may actually remember me posting about this character during his inception. I will now read from his character profile. Let me Let me just boot up fucking World of Warcraft. Taharos of the Old Horn tribe is ancient and moldered. His body is bloated, brimming with sump liquids. His hooves and horns look rancid and soft. Various stagnant liquids leak from his body at regular intervals. Some manner of fungi grows on his hooves. He is slowly turning to living ooze, part of his body having turned to sludge drifting behind him. He is quite unpleasant. Taharos is insolent and nihilistic. It is known that his utmost desire is for his life to be ended indefinitely, for he gaggles about it constantly. He is a proficient fisherman, as fishing is one of his few motivations in life, alongside taking care of his pet boy, writing op-eds about why the sun must be destroyed, and growing his piteous daughter more powerful. That is it for very important character lore. Now, the model itself was a slight challenge to put together. I of course used the Bulgur spruce, but looking upon them I realized they looked too cool. Here is my Bulgur Aberrant, for comparison's sake, who is significantly cooler. I had to hide the thick muscles in layers of rancid flesh using green stuff, and I had to emulate the likenesses of watery boils for the rest of the muscles. I cut out all his teeth, because there is no way Taharos would have had any left. Then I of course gave him some fish, all from the Idonet Deakin models of course. The fish themselves are color-wise based on the deviant fish from WoW, because that is what he mostly was fishing all day. There's also some mushrooms growing from his hooves that I carefully nicked from the Loon King model, because I had that lying around as well. The paint scheme Garrot went for is of course emulating the look of the character once more in-game, but appropriately grossifying it. Following up from this, we also have Boy! Perfect feline, not to be confused with Boy, the imperfect Boy. He is a beautiful cat creature and Taharos' pet. It is the only thing in this miserable existence that Taharos truly loves and cares for, which is why Boy's appearance is immaculate, whilst he himself is slowly oosifying. The Boy model is simply the Frost Saber from the Hrothgorn's Mantrapper's box, because it looked almost exactly like Boy does in-game. Perfection. Then we have the next member of the cult. Smerpazoid, the Dry Priest. Garrot played this character, the antithesis to Taharos, the antagonist of his existence and very valuable trading partner. I will now read from his character profile. Smerpazoid, vagrant, was excommunicated from the Sand Fury tribe for stealing communal bread. He has since left on a penitent journey filled with religious guilt and grave physical degradation. He is racked with allergies and various ailments, many of which are fabricated in his weakened mind. Smerpazoid is filled with dust and resents all moisture. His skin is dry and flaked in a constant state of regeneration. His bony features are hidden behind scar tissue and leathery, stretched skin. His hacking cough reveals the decrepit state of his insides. He looks extremely dried out, dehydrated, his skin riddled with eczema and scabs. He is also deathly allergic to gnomes. Taharos and Smerpazoid have an antagonistic relationship that stretches back far in time.
We meet again. bastard, Creighton. Bastard, cowperson.
It is you, tusked creature.
Last time I saw you, your wife was still alive.
Do not speak of my damned accursed wife with your horrid tusked mouth.
Horned fiend. Fiend father.
Please, take these disgusting clothes.
Inf.
I hate them.
I will do this begrudgingly.
Their smell is horrid. I hope and pray they are deceased.
My constant consumption of rotten objects bolsters my immune system. Soon I will be immune to death.
Please leave me. I wish to further soak up this water with my swamping feet. One day you too will die in the sea, much like I. The day cannot come soon enough.
Delicious flesh meat.
Horrid.
This meat will give me energy for the coming days. Thank you, Father. I will now cast an evil curse upon you.
You are truly a bastard of the highest order.
Soak in scum.
Leave this place lest I murder you and throw your corpse in the lake.
Plain Strider kidney.
Smerpazoid's model was interesting to put together. Garrot told me he's just make him an Urgul, but I wanted to be slightly more loyal to the original design. I decided to take the skinny lower half of the Urgul, the crooked upper body of a Crypt Ghoul, the arms of a Tau Ethereal, and the head of a very dry-looking Noblar, complete with a slightly extended nose, using green stuff, and a different head for the staff. All in all, I am very happy with how it came out. Third member is Sheckley, who was played by Erndl. Arguably the least irrational in the cult, yet she chooses to bind her eyes with a leather belt. Most importantly though, she is the tank! And that is exactly what we scream at Erndl as he attempts to tank with his fucking arms spec. Tank! Tank! Please! Tank! Ambush! Tank! Now for a bit from her character profile. Sheckley the mercenary finds herself assisting Taharos almost begrudgingly, despite the fact that he pays her to take hits for him. Taharos' continued insistence on serving the malign entity known only as Anders fills her with dread, but a strange purpose, a purpose to bring an end to the evil being. She frequently finds herself at odds with her companion's lack of moral fiber, and frequently needs to remind them, forcibly, to not cause havoc simply because they can. Additionally, she likes to drink, though this may or may not be related to her distaste in her traveling companions. She also really likes fruit. Sheckley's model I had a slightly hard time figuring out how to exactly pull off. Design-wise, she's a bit different from her WoW counterpart, but honestly, I feel this works with her character and fits better in a 40k setting. I took the upper half of a head from the Flagellant warband and smashed it together with the lower half of a zombie face. I used an Escher body for her torso, gave her zombie legs, and threw on 2 shoulder plates and a hammer from the Goliath Ganger kit. And of course, graced her cork-filled skull with a beautiful Escher hairdo. Now, she has that giant hammer, because Erndil, of course, primarily played the arms spec in WoW, which means you use two-handed weapons. But she also has a shitty wooden shield on her back that she never has anywhere near her actual arm, because she doesn't fucking tank! She was also actually supposed to be holding like a flask of alcohol, but it broke off during transport, and Garrot assumed the flask belonged to this the fucking Gnipper and just slapped it on here, leaving Sheckley entirely one-handed. Now we realize that, of course, Sheckley must get her hand back by slaying this Gnipper on tabletop and grafting it on once more. That's it for Sheckley, though. Next up is Heidi, who was played by Eliphas. She is the daughter of Taharos. She is constantly described as weak and pathetic by her macabre father, who wishes to grow her strong and powerful so that she can do the deed and sever her father from this mortal coil. I shall now read from the character profile of Heidi, written by master roleplayer Eliphas. She is suspiciously quiet, doesn't seem to talk much, not sure if socially awkward or dead inside, or both. Clap of her body parts keep alerting the mobs. Short attention span. Can be very absent-minded, often looking away, doing something else. Heidi is rather gentle by nature and tries to help people in need, but her absent-mindedness can bring more harm than anything at times. In a group, she goes from tolerable to catastrophically awful. Expect her to aggro all the mobs because she forgot that spamming healing spells does that. Like, really? Stop it. Very good character profile. Heidi's model took the most time to put together, as I had to get a hold of a whole bunch of obscure models. First off, an ogre man-eater model for the body, and then a cow model for the head and tail from the Gargant pack, as suggested by Garrot. As to imitate the model, I threw on two clumps of hair from the Dark Eldar Witch set to make up for her hair. Her totem hammer was created by pasting random horns from the Beastman sets and a few feathers stolen from the Escher onto the rolling pin? Yikes. Yeah, that the original model had. For the paint scheme, Garrot went with something a bit different from the original in-game look, going for an aesthetic more akin to a very stereotypical milk cow. Now this paint scheme, while different, actually works quite well in my opinion though, because with this she looks a bit more similar to her horrible father. Fourth member, Thunderskull, played by Fresh. Thunderskull's really good lore was based on some actual Warcraft lore. I shall read his character profile now. Thunderskull was once a clanless orc living in the Blade's Edge Mountains of Draenor. Thunderskull attempted to join a clan of orcs known as the Lightning's Blade clan. The initiation rite for this clan was to stand at the top of a mountain during a lightning storm, hold your axe to the sky, and to survive being struck by lightning through the axe 3 times. When Thunderskull came of age and proved himself worthy of his father's axe, he climbed to the top of the tallest peak of the Blade's Edge Mountains during the worst storm seen in a generation. Holding his axe up high, he stood resolute, prepared to join the Lightning's Blade as a warrior. The first bolt of lightning struck his skull, splitting it down the cranium. The next bolt hit his skull yet again, swelling his brain matter and bursting skin and muscle like so much pus from an overgrown cyt. The third lightning bolt hit his skull once more and traveled through the whole of his body, spreading horrific nerve damage all throughout. Collapsing atop the mountain, ruined beyond repair, Thunderskull knew he could not join the clan of his dreams. Upon the Orcs clans gathering in Shadow Moon Valley to partake of Manoroth's blood, Thunder Skull had a cup shoved down into his throat by a rowdy crowd of asshole orcs from the Warsong clan. Instead of dying, this simply further twisted his ruined body, restoring his bones and giving them the strength to move of his own accord, but filling his mind with the screams of the demonic energy flowing through his veins. He is a twisted, hunchbacked creature now, having made a pact with the demon lords of the Twisting Nether for magical power. His patron, Shishnak Nuraka, is an imp lord. As such, his power can only grow by becoming an impish, horrid figure. He is in constant pain from the damage to his nerves, the blood of Manoroth only exacerbating this for decades. When Gromhel's scream freed the orcs from the demon's curse, a new and horrible pain filled his malformed skull, and now he must drain himself of excess brain and spinal fluids monthly. Now, I did not want Thunderskull to be like a straight-up orc in Warhammer, as I wanted to keep the cult fairly mutant-centric, so I used the bloated skull of a rogue psyker from the Blackstone Fortress box, along the shacked body of an actual orc, and the robes of a flagellant. I also gave him a very, very tiny Gnoblar arm with a very tiny Gnoblar axe, and just could not come up with anything to give him from his other arm, so Garrot provided another very, very tiny arm that I have no idea where it came from. But yeah, it's very tiny. And Garrot then painted him green, and I have no idea how we will justify this in the very good Anders lore for Warhammer, but he is green. Then we also have this. It is a George Boy Sr. based on the character Christina of Handsome Space Marine Boy fame played for a while. She played a troll named George Boy though, but in character she kept insisting that her father was a gnome. Thus George Boy is senior. Now, since gnomes are extremely evil, and I had gotten a good price on a very rad old plague card from 1987, I decided to depict this vile creature by cutting out the shit-eating grin and giant feet of one of the halfling heads in the Greenfield Grasshuggers Blood Bowl team, and pasted on the small, like, Reaper Man that sits atop the cart. And this worked disturbingly well. It is also worth noting that the steer pulling the cart is, of course, in the lore, Taharos' father, a character also played by Eliphas one time, but a long time ago. This character was called a cow. Now, the first time Eliphas ever played WoW, he played on this a cow character, and he died all the time. Terrible fate. Now, finally, we have... I've been expecting you. Eustace Postborn, the undead human, powerful sorcerer, fabled scribe, master marksman, ex-husband of Sylvanas Windrunner, and true heir to the throne of Lordaeron. Eustace Postborn is the best character that has ever been created and is played by our friend Blessed. He has no jaw and cannot speak anything but gutter speak. No one understands anything that he is ever saying, and he is constantly told to
Yes, be silent, Eustace Postborn. No one understands what you are saying, for you are a jawless worm.
by Taharos and Smerpazoid, both, as they cannot understand a word that he is ever saying. He is also hailed by the cult as a character of extremely great importance by everyone in the cult, sorely against the will of both the character and also the player a little bit. As Taharos the Smerpazoid professes to all the other characters in the game, that the very serious RP characters that are around in the game, that the Lich King Arthas himself ripped Eustace Postboard's jaw off and implanted extremely powerful experimental sweat glands into his body. And to this, Eustace Postbourne can say nothing, due to his lack of a jaw. This all whilst Blessed himself is crying, "Please stop!" in the voice chat. This is very, very, very funny. Now, for his model though, it was quite simple to put together, honestly. A zombie head with its jaw ripped off, naturally, with a piece of a tongue from a squig glued in place. The head was then carved up to fit in a funny wizard's hat from the Collegiate Arcane Mystic Battle Wizards pack. The body itself is also from that pack, of course, as Eustace Postbourne is a powerful battle wizard. In later days of the game, when Taharos would say something especially preposterous about Eustace Postbourne's being, Eustace Postbourne would take forth a giant gun.
Eustace? Is that a gun? Eustace? Please. Please put the gun down, Eustace. Eustace, calm down. You are scaring me. Scaring everyone here, Eustace. Put down the gun. Fucker.
Thus, Garrot helped out and went ahead and equipped him with a fitting gun, because I had none. And that was very, very good. And that was all of them. Oh wait, there's also this one, Gamers. Okay, that's all of them.
Please end my suffering!
This video is already way longer than intended. Thank you very much for watching me babble about Anders lore for the better portion of this video. Thank you to Wib for allowing me to steal his format. And thank you to Garrot for allowing me to pay him to paint all of my models so I don't have to do it myself. Okay, bye!
And I'm the Warhammer woman. No.
I love you, Alfabusa. Mwah.